So if Patrino is the guy, if Patrino is the head coach in waiting, how the hell, outside of the obvious, why would we even imagine that this be the case? So let's go back to last year really quick. What was right and wrong with this team? Let's start with what was wrong with this football team. Last year, without a doubt, you're 6-6. Yes, your offense turned the ball over a little bit too much. Jalen Green at times struggled and he was not super accurate. Okay, but still, let's stay on track. The defense was atrocious last year. 73rd in the country in yards allowed per game. That's total defense. Almost 380 yards per game allowed. Scoring defense, 66th in the country, giving up over 25 points per game. They were 107th in the entire country at TFLs, tackles for loss. Right, tackles behind the line of scrimmage. So they had 61 total on the year, which averages out to roughly around four TFLs per game. And then sacks, they were horrible. 64th in the country with 26. That's 2 per game. And then red zone defense, they're 51st in the country, where they're having just 80% success. Well, offenses were having 80% success in the red zone against Arkansas's defense. Whew, that's pretty bad. There's worse, certainly, but that's not great. Especially, this isn't the first year with this defense. You flip it over to the offense. The offense, I believe, is the reason why you won 6 games. There's plenty of good. Total offense, 10th in the country. almost 460 yards per game. That's crazy. I don't care who that's against. Third down offense, 35th in the country, converting over right north of 40% of the time. They were 18th in the country in passing offense. Again, despite some of the pass protection issues this team had. And again, when you combine that with the issues that Green has in hitting some of his open targets, most of the first part of the season, they overcome that with still being very productive in the passing offense. Again, 274 yards per game is no joke. Rushing offense, a lot of injuries there. Again, with a very not great offensive line, and you still ended up with 2,400 total yards on the ground. And yeah, Taylor Green's a big part of that as well, but still, that's 184 yards per game on the ground, not bad. And then there's the, well, why didn't they do better here department? Here's another mark, maybe kind of against Patrino, which is the scoring offense. They finished, it's not bad. Listen, they're part of the 400-point club. That's 31 points per game, but it's still 44th in the country. That's certainly a number that needs to come up in 2025, and I believe that it will. How much, I don't know. The point that I'm making is, if 2025 is a mirror to 2024 with this schedule, again, I don't think it's a top 5 strength of schedule, but I think it's a damn tough schedule considering these games you got to play on the road. I mean, my God, at Texas or, at Ole Miss, at Tennessee, very, very tough games. And then the team you're just cursed against, Missouri, that one's at home in Fayetteville, but still, you're cursed against that team. You struggle to beat them even when they're not good. I'm making this argument, or I'm giving you the case for Patrino, because if these things mirror, if 24 happens again and your offense is pretty similar in a lot of these categories, and it's not going to be good enough to win 6 games. It's just not. It's going to be good enough to get your coach fired. It's going to end up being a 5-7, maybe even 4-8 kind of year. Now, I'm not saying that happens, but that is a realistic possibility. We often talk about what scenarios have a seat at the dinner table. Absolutely, going 4-8 or 5-7 has a seat at the dinner table. The question is how far up the dinner table, how close are they sitting to this football program? I would argue it's a little bit higher up than some people want to admit. So then that means what? Patrino's offense does well enough that you're not losing your job, or the head coach is not losing his job because of the offensive woes. He's losing his job because he just failed to put together a complete product, a better product on the field. No improvement. Right? You go backwards. Hell, 6 wins by most fans would tell you that's not good enough to keep his job, and I agree with that. I don't think 6 wins should be, but we don't know how Hunter Yurchek's thinking. So here's the other scenario that plays out. You don't have any more excuses. Revenue sharing is here. We're told the NIL is doing a little bit better. And oh, by the way, all the reasons that Patrino talked about not really digging what head coaches got to deal with today, it's going to help now because you've got a general manager. You have a GM. Arkansas hired one. So now that's fewer responsibilities on the shoulders of a head coach. Maybe now that narrative has changed a little bit, And if if Pittman is fired and option A is off the table, option B is off the table, all of a sudden you've got Patrino, assuming he's not already taken another job elsewhere, by the time you're in the hunt for a head coach, which is why you might need to move early. If things aren't looking so great in November, you might need to move pretty early. You of course would have to take a look. I would be upset if you didn't at that point take a look at Bobby Petrino being the next head coach. He's overly qualified for the job. We all know this. Yes, he's had a couple stops that didn't turn out well. His last year at Louisville, I think there was some more in-house drama with that as well, with him getting fired his last season at Louisville in his second go-around with the Cardinals. But we certainly saw him turn Texas A&M around on offense in some categories, and we saw the job that he did last year. And oh, by the way, yeah, he kind of was winning his first time around at Arkansas. There's history here. He understands and knows the pipelines to the high schools in Texas. All of a sudden you're not maybe recruiting South Georgia as much, but instead you're a little bit thicker in Florida. For the most part, he's going to go recruit the hell out of Dallas-Fort Worth. He's going to recruit Tulsa and Oklahoma City. He's going to recruit down in Louisiana again. We don't recruit there anymore. Look at the roster. Look at how many players are actually from the state of Louisiana or that played high school ball in Louisiana. Petrino would bring that back. So he understands that. He understands the pipeline. He knows what it takes to win at a school like the U of A, despite all the changes. Yes, college football's changed a lot, but like I just mentioned, you're going to have a GM help take some of the burden off of his shoulders. NIL, I think NIL would actually improve quite a bit. What do you think? Would NIL improve with Bobby Petrino as the head coach? Again, I'm not suggesting he's their first option. I'm saying the scenario would play out like that, where the offense is not the reason why you have a pitiful 2025 year, although if you're 5-7, maybe your offense was pretty bad. But what I am suggesting is if it mirrors 2024 or even does slightly better, just a little bit better, but you lose games because of how tough they are on the road, Pittman loses his job, and you swing out on a couple of options, and Petrino's sitting there assuming he's still available, and again, you had a pretty decent year on offense, you're going to take him as the head coach. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. I don't know. I don't know that they would swing and miss on their first two options either. I think my big question for Patrino would be, again, if he is option C and you've swung out on your first two options, how well would he do in the transfer portal? It's not like you saw a whole bunch of Texas A&M offensive players move with him over to Arkansas. And again, that might just be an NIL thing. I don't know. I am curious. That would probably be my biggest question. He's not a young, hungry head coach, right? He's not a Rhett Lashley. He's not a younger name in the game, but he has been around. He's put guys into the league, put together some really good offenses inside and outside the SEC. So I think there would be some players that would be heavily interested. I mean, you look, they got Crutchfield, for crying out loud. I mean, you look at some of the options they did get out of the portal on offense, they're pretty strong. Not just with Crutchfield either. Washington at running back, keep an eye on him. I do think something else that would happen that would be a huge plus would be the NIL. It'd be the collective. Fans would buy in. I believe wholeheartedly fans would buy in to a Bobby Petrino era, a second era at the University of Arkansas. I believe that. Maybe the big donors do or they don't buy in. Maybe it's on the collective. But you have revenue sharing. You've got the general manager in place to help with things. It's starting to feel like this is a job that's almost just tailor-made for Bobby Petrino to just take over, at least for the short term. Do I side more with the idea that this happens, or do I side over here that says, no, it's not going to happen because Hunter Yurchek said this?
I will tell you that that is not definitively a path here at the University of Arkansas for him to get back to be a head coach. I don't know if he has aspirations to be a head coach somewhere else. What I will tell you is he's done a great job so far being our offensive coordinator. He's been incredibly supportive of Sam Pittman and buying into the program that Sam Pittman has. He has done a great job with our offense, and he's filling the role as offensive coordinator very, very well.
Don't let that scare you off. ADs, head coaches, they have a tendency to say one thing and do something else. I can't think of a moment where Hunter has done that. I can't give you an example, but I'm just going to say, never say never. A lot of things have to happen in order for this to be a scenario where Patrino takes over. But I do lean more on the side of if Pittman is fired, Petrino's going with him. I do believe that, but I could be wrong. But I think he is tethered. He's tethered to Sam Pittman's fate. That's ultimately what I do believe to be the case. So there you have it. That's where I'm at with it. Again, let me know in the comment section. Do you think, yeah, no, this is absolutely a possibility? It's all AD speak. It's all coach speak when Patrino's saying he's not interested. It's all, listen, once you cross that bridge, or once you come up to that bridge and all hell is breaking loose, people are pissed off. They already brought him in to be the offensive mind, to be the offensive coordinator. And again, if 25 plays out similar to 24 on the offensive side of the ball, maybe a little bit better, I just don't know how you don't if all your other options are exhausted and Petrino's sitting there. I don't know why you wouldn't give him an offer. Again, for a short-term deal. For maybe a 2-3 year deal, if he would accept that, right? Then that's the other side of it. Again, let me know. I don't know. It's a fun conversation. I love the debate. It's become a pillar of off-season conversation for fans. I love talking about it. Like I said, I don't think this happens, but again, never say never. So let me know how you feel down below in the comments section, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys on the next one.